You are listening to the Brain Profits Podcast. We bring awareness to the reality that, in large, people allow their brains to control them, which is causing difficulty at school, at work, and in life.
Success in life and business starts in the brain. Therefore, we want to explore the challenges that exist for people and organizations so that they are in control of their brains and not the other way around.
Listen in, be inspired, and take back control of your brain, and you'll create optimal results in your life, organization, and community.
Ready to start the show? We are, so let's go. What was the music industry like?
Let's say this.
Was it like the Kanye documentary that's on Netflix?
It's interesting. I'll say this. So I'm going to leave this promoter unknown, but I was on my way to California a couple of years back, and this promoter is responsible for two mega male groups. And I think it was just designed by fate. We sat next to each other on the plane.
What years are these? So we could, even though you're not telling us names, we can kind of.
I want to say.
Wait. She said she wants to leave him anonymous.
Oh, so you still can. You can give us time frame contextual, so I can, give my guess in there.
It doesn't matter. Go ahead, Debbie. Debbie, just keep on doing your thing. It doesn't matter. He can investigate later.
So we sat next to each other on the plane, and I was pulling out some editing stuff for music, and that's how the conversation sparked. And long story short, I found out what he did, and then he found out what I did. And believe it or not, it was still a great meeting because he introduced me to my first entertainment lawyer, right? Like, I had no money to be an entertainment lawyer, but was just really grateful for someone who can just kind of look at a document for me. But I say all that to say, at some point, he just became very transparent with me. And there were just a couple of opportunities that came up that I had to stand in my power and sort of say, nah, actually, that's not going to work. And the reason why certain things didn't work is because I knew that moment wouldn't speak for itself, that at some point that person would introduce themselves to someone else and someone else and someone else. And I think if you have nothing in this world, you have your name and you have your reputation. And I came from a family that, we're blue collar workers. And so there was no one that was sort of flying with me. And my parents are not my managers, and they don't know the business. They just knew how to go to work. Are you fed? Are the bills paid? Are you doing good in school? All right, lights out. And so, I just use that as a basis to say that there were times where I just had to advocate for myself. There were times where I just had to say, actually, you're not going to book a room with me. I want to sleep in a separate room, and I'm going to choose to do that. And then you can see the sort of curveball in what other opportunities that I would get. So having a follow-up conversation with that one promoter, and he lives further down south. And of course, I'm in the Northeast, and he called and he said, here's your problem. You're just too smart, right? He made that statement one time, and it just sat with me. I didn't, I sat with it, but I understood I understood what he meant. He basically was like, listen, you're not as blindfolded as sometimes they might, want you to be. And so when you are
That's interesting.
Clear about being clear, when you're clear about being clear, then the game changes. And I think that I was made for a time as this, where you may not need to cut through all the red tape, that now you can use social media and you can grow your own audience organically. But I've always been a firm believer that what's yours is yours. There's no need to chase it. It's not escaping you. I think that what's been imparted on you, it has to manifest through you. But when you ask a question like that, like, how's the industry? It has its ebbs and it has its flows. And I think if you don't know who you are more susceptible to sort of kind of go left if you're not clear how you stand.
So, so when you told me that it's somebody that's going to be down south. So I was thinking about somebody who may have fled the country, but now it's not that guy. Was it what you expected?
I'd say a little bit of yes and no. When I worked at Sony, I was in the TV and radio department. So a lot of it was very much editing and commercials and 30-second slots. And so I'd be calling that person like, hey, Doug, can you do a voiceover for us? And you'd have a really pronounced, voice, and boom, I'd send you the invoice after that. So I thought that was great to sort of see the behind the scenes and working with senior producers on that aspect of it. But music side, like pitching to A&Rs and getting meetings, I've had the meetings. I've had that you'll be the 13th girl on the roster. You're not going to get signed, or, like keep making music, like the whole shebang. Like I've experienced it. And I'm grateful for it, because I just feel like it was a lot of learning. It was a lot of growing. It was a lot of internal reflection. If you're not careful, if you don't have a solid structure behind you, whether it be family or friends, you really start to think that you are not talented. You start to really feel like I'm going crazy. Like I can't sing. I can't write songs. I don't know rhythm. What am I doing? This was a big joke. Like, where's Ashton Kutcher? I'm being pranked. But at some point you sit with it and you recognize that your gift is your gift is your gift. And however that's supposed to manifest and materialize in this world is how it will be. And I just came to terms with it. But there have definitely been moments where I'm crying in my pillow and I'm kind of like, what's going on? And
I could see that.
Why does it have to be so? Why does it have to be so? Yeah, it just feels very like jumping through hoops after a while. And you just got to know who you are and what you stand for. I can't say that enough.
When you said makes you feel half crazy, I thought immediately of Music Soul Child, Half Crazy.
That's a good song.
Yeah, that's a real good song. Music Soul Child. Anyways.
Demi, in an industry where no's are part of the game, lots and lots of no's are part of the game, what resources did you put in place around you in order to keep seeing that gift and to keep saying yes to what you believed was possible for you? What environment did you create?
Thank you for asking that, Stacey. I think it's always a blessing to have parents that pour into you and that, continue to just sort of validate, who you are and what you're made of. But I'm not afraid to spend time alone. I'm not afraid to be by myself. So I clear a lot of clutter in that way, that I'm not listening to multiple opinions. I'm just sort of grounded in who am I and what did I come to do? And a lot of the times it brings on, deep reflection where you are figuring out next steps. The life doesn't come with manuals. With a manual, but I've been really just grateful for my family, for family and sound people who are not looking for something, not waiting for me to make it big, just genuinely care about your well-being. I've been a big believer in sort of just shooting it straight. Like I just want straight shooters around me. Just tell me what it is. If it's great, then it's great. If it's not great, then it's not great. If I'm being not myself, then tell me that too. But it was just always important for me to not subscribe to the hype. And I've never really been the type of person who's been raised to follow trends. I don't follow trends. I follow, like your inner guidance and your inner voice. And I think I've been that way since I was younger. I'm the one that goes for the underdog. I wasn't really interested in sort of being known for like being popular. It was more like, how can I help? How can I serve? And how can I be present? And so you're right. In an industry full of no's, I've written down in my journal, funny that you say that, years ago, and I would say no stands for not over. And I would repeat that over again. I'd be like, oh, it's not over. Oh, that's what a no is, not over. And the more no's you get, the more it's like, and been there, done that, heard it. Okay, moving on. So what could a no possibly do? And I know that all it takes is one yes. All it takes is one yes. Mm-hmm. And that's where I'm at with it.
There's so much gold in what you just dropped. And I'm totally connecting with your hustlers and hermits, and am totally intrigued to listen in on that, because it really sounds like that hermit piece of it is what keeps you in your authenticity, and you're willing to hustle to go after it. It's not just sitting waiting and meditating for the universe to bring it to you, but you're going to get real on it and then take some action. And that's beautiful. And I love that you seek feedback. And just a few weeks ago, for the first time, I heard no stands for next one.
Oh,
cool. Like, great. That's next one. So I love that not over as well. And all beautiful ways to play it, that no is not with a period and it's over. That's
Thank
beautiful.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And one of the things that you just talked about how you're not afraid to be alone. I think when we sit in our quietness, at least I know for me, that's when I am my most sort of brilliant, in quotes. That's when I am, sort of my true self. That's when there's clarity in my purpose and my vision for life. The reality is that there are millions of things that are fighting for our attention every single day. And if you don't take the opportunity to be still and to be quiet and to be alone, um, it's going to drive you crazy, right? And it's going to lead you down a path that is not for you. And so I think the way that you're going about it is just absolutely brilliant. And certainly you deserve kudos for how courageous you are, certainly how talented you are, how hard you work, that you don't just rest sort of on your laurels and you continue to go after what your purpose is. So, like I said before at the start of this, I am so proud of who you are. So thank you so much for just gracing us with you.
That means a lot. That really does. And I do want to say this because I feel like, as you mentioned, there's so many things pulling for our attention, but specifically for artists in general, and all types of artists that create. I think it's just so important that we're not sort of looking on the outside of us for what is supposed to be, manifested from within. And too often it's like, I should look like this, I should do this, I should write about that, I should sing a song about that. And I think it's an insult to whomever you believe in as your divine source to assume that we would all show up the same way, needing to do the same thing to fulfill the same purpose and to have the same outcome. It makes absolutely no sense. And so I'm okay with being still if being still is going to lead me to where it needs to be. I'm okay with tuning the noise out if, as you mentioned, that silence brings on brilliance and ideas. And I'm also okay with crying and figuring out, like, what's this? Like, what's happening right here? Why do I feel that way about this? Or what is it with that experience that has made me feel inferior in some way? And there's some hard questions, but I think a lot of the hard questions are not answered on a regular basis because, again, we're pounding the pavement, working hard, facing responsibility, so on and so forth. So, Stacey, I think you kind of like just sort of like brought it full circle where, yeah, that's a part of being the hermit. It's not, like waiting and lighting a candle and saying, I'm waiting on God, and I've heard many people say that. And I also just feel like, no, most of the time God is waiting on us to sort of just show up in our gift. And so yeah, thank you for that. I really appreciate that.
That's a big one. When you throw that out there, I think of the parable where the guy took his talent and put it in the ground. That guy was waiting. Everybody else took action. So yeah, that's real dope to do that out there like that. So I got a couple questions. We're getting close to our wrap time, but what do you play any instruments?
I don't. And I got beef with my father for that. No, I went to Catholic growing up. And there was a nun. She was our piano teacher. And she used to squeeze my fingers. And I was like, I'm not playing the piano anymore. And he was like, okay, no problem. And now I look back at it and I'm like, how could you do that? Why did you let me give up?
That is the funniest thing.
Yeah. I can play basic keys on a keyboard. And of course, my voice is the instrument. But no, I'm not like pulling out a guitar and playing bass at a show. No.
Yeah, no, I always remember, going through piano lessons myself for several years, actually. I was okay. And I remember going when my parents finally let me quit, being thankful, being like, oh man, I can't wait to quit this because you have to practice so much to be good at it. And then when you're older, you're like, man, I wish I could play. Right. But thankfully, for me, I had two instruments I played. So I also played the trombone. And I guess the force to play one really well was a good thing because I was able to leverage what I could play when I played the trombone into a scholarship when I was in college. So I guess I was decent enough to make so for, college to pay me to play. But, after college and I, accomplished what I wanted to accomplish, I let it go, which I should not have done that. But I haven't touched it since the last concert in college.
Doug, that's really amazing. Like you legit went to school because you played the trombone?
Well, no, I went to school. And then when I needed a scholarship because I was going to lose one, I then dusted it off, practiced more summer and came back. And I was good enough to make their symphony
That's so
And so,
cool.
so I was thankful to my dad and mom to, push me to be good at it enough to be able to leverage that that particular talent, right? They cultivated it, so I had it. And yeah, because I could read, because I could read bass and treble clef. I could do a lot of stuff. Play different types of trombones. There was like 3 kinds that I could play. Anyways, enough about me.
That's pretty dope. That's so dope, though. Love it. I love it. I love it.
No. Philippe wanted to play an instrument too.
Listen, it is probably my biggest regret in life that I did not. I know, but that's not the same as being able to move people through music, whether it's your voice or through an instrument, right? I mean, if somebody's reading my book, that's only lighting up a little part of their brain. You're like setting their entire brain on fire. You're causing them to feel things, to feel joy. You can move them to tears. Shoot, if I see somebody and I'm moving them to tears, it's because I'm giving them real bad news. So there's a huge difference.
I thought you'd be giving them business. You'd be like, you New Yorkers, you guys know how you guys are. I've seen a lady in the street make a guy cry that flew up there with me one time.
No, we're not that bad in New York. Come on now. We're not. First of all, you're from the Bronx. You're from the Bronx.
Yeah, but I've seen it happen. I saw the dude, this guy next to me, he was working with me, and he bumped into the wrong lady on the street, and she let him have it. And I was like, yo, you all right, man?
My musical talents went as far as being in the 8th grade choir, and then puberty hit, and I didn't stick with it. Yeah, didn't stick with it.
No wonder he never touched any. He doesn't drink, he doesn't smoke, he barely could dance.
Like Demi said, I don't need external things in order for me to be good. I don't need external things. I can sit with myself.
Demi, you got to come up with music.
Listen, I can sit with myself for
Jump
hours.
in here, Demi. This is going south fast. And I don't mean East Tennessee South, like bad.
Listen, and we've had to have conversations recently with Doug about him not getting a BBL. So he needs like a lot of external validation.
BBLs, you're crazy.
Right? He's not hustling, Demi. He's trying to do the quick fix.
The quick pill. I'm looking for. I've been researching that limitless pill that Bradley Cooper had in that movie where you take the pill and you can just perform at super high heights.
No, that's exercise. Listen to music. That's what that is.
Or Tony Robbins. I know he speaks a lot about like just neurocircuitry and I don't know, stem cell research. Like he's into extending life on a whole nother level. So I'm sure, Philippe, have you read up on his work or
listen, I am the neurologist Tony Robbins.
Tony Robbins wants to be Philippe.
Huh?
Yeah, you're gonna have to work on that line.
Yeah, I need to figure out how to make it better. I know I got to tweak it. She caught me off guard, so I got to tweak that line a little bit.
Just really quickly, why the brain? Why was your focus neurology?
So when I was a kid, I had a cousin who had epilepsy and she ended up growing out of it. And then I had a grandmother who had Alzheimer's disease. And while those things are obviously devastating for the people who are suffering with them, they're also devastating for the family. But it made me realize that when the brain works the way that it's supposed to, it's an incredibly beautiful and powerful organ. And then as I have, sort of been now, 15 years into this field, I certainly take care of people with a lot of neurological issues, strokes, epilepsy, and all that stuff, and give them, the treatments that are sort of dictated by our medical industry. But I also have realized just the importance of becoming the leaders that our brains need us to be in order for us to create the lives that we want for ourselves, in order for us to overcome the challenges that we face. Right? I mean, our brains are considered to be the most complicated organ or complicated substance in our entire solar system. And so it's incredibly powerful. And while people are always so fascinated with digital technology, social media, what they neglect is that we have the most powerful technology sitting within our skulls. Right? We just need to learn how to use that. So that's why I do what I do.
That's powerful. Now you need to just like continue to speak at schools and have them infuse that same exact rhetoric.
You wrote a book for them to read.
That's a problem, Doug, right?
They
They need to know. They need the Cliff Notes version.
Oh, if you see the book, he then wrote a Cliff Notes version for it, and that's digital. You can get it online. Tell him where you can get it, Philippe. No, I'm playing. But he did write a digital book for it too. So hey, there we go. There we go.
There we go. There we go.
That's the one that has been on your page. Yeah.
Yeah.
See, it's real.
Yeah.
You thought it was fake.
So before it goes south into jokes again, I want to bring one more thing. You're impacting brain health in another way as it relates to mental health, Demi. I noticed that you are a youth mental health ambassador for Capricare. Is that correct? And I'm super curious about what you're up to as that ambassador. I can only imagine with your background and then music, all of that, how you could be impacting. As I understand it, Capricare is really attempting, at least Capricare Haiti is really attempting to counter the traumatic effects of all that keeps happening in Haiti, from natural disasters to poverty to all other experiences there. So would you love to live a little? I would like to hear a little bit about what you're up to there.
Yeah, so Capricare, just an amazing organization. And I actually met the founder and CEO through an organization that I'm a part of, which is the Haitian Roundtable. And so we connected there and began speaking. And I would just sort of go to just a couple of events just to gain some background information as to what they were doing, boots on the ground. And I was floored by the transparency, the impact, and the data that they can speak to, because too often it's like, send money here, but you're just not really sure how it's impacting those that are actually, there in a particular region. And through just our discussions and events, I started sponsoring a young child there. And then again, through more conversation, I found out how just inconsistent education was in that particular region. And I just could not believe that teachers, of course, when devastation took place, like earthquakes and natural disasters, including political uproar, teachers were like not being paid or not going. And depending if that family member needed the child to support their workings at home, sometimes the child wouldn't even be able to get consistent education. So I mean, really, if you kind of just mix it all in a bowl, there's so many variables that play a part of impacting a child's education. But I'm just really just excited and honored to partner with an organization that says what they say they're going to do the work, where you actually see the CEO boots on the ground. You begin to see the impact, the results of the impact. I was responsible early on, and I say was because after 2020, there was just a couple of changes and some restructuring. And so coming back on as the mental health ambassadors as one of them, it's really just to support a lot of the work that's being done now, educational wise. And Capricare does take care of women as well. They provide a lot of actual health reproductive services. But on the educational front, I think it's important that children in Haiti are also well-versed in technology. I think it's important that children in Haiti are also up to date, if that makes sense, with the happenings of the world around them and not simply their region or their part of the world. And I'm just really want to just be a bridge in whatever way that I can, a conduit in whatever way that I can to support the continuing of counseling, mental health counseling. Both of my parents are born and raised in Haiti. And so I'm like their first generation. My sisters and I are like our first generation. You may be proud, get a college degree. And, that American grooming and education. So it just feels good to sort of like support those efforts and show young children that there is a world outside of devastation and unfortunately corruption and instability. And I think if anything if there's anything that keeps a child going, it's the hope that I can actually become something, that I can actually do something, that I do matter, and that my well-being matters. But I mentioned my parents because, again, in Caribbean, at least households, we're not really discussing mental health quite often at all. And we're not talking about our feelings. And I know as a parent, because I do have a son, it's just really interesting, the contrast between how I was raised and how he was raised. And so I'm asking you, like, no, you can't just say nothing is wrong. Talk to me about what that means and tell me how you're feeling. And let's talk about the feelings. And I think that that's important. Those are healthy pillars to have in place. And so if I can just support that and partner with an organization that's doing that, it's just a blessing to be of service. Yeah.
I love it. Thank you very much for sharing all of those pieces. I could go into all of the nuggets that you pulled in there, and thank you for helping to take steps towards the next generation growing up in Haiti and changing their views of what the world can be for them and for others. But I know, Doug, we're getting close to needing to wrap up, so I'm going to hand it back to you.
Yeah. Thank you. So I have one final question to ask you. All right, and you brought this up, and so we'd love to hear your answer on this one. So if life did come with a manual and you were involved in the writing of that manual, what would be in the top 1, 2, or 3 of said manual?
Okay, so really quickly, performing and entertaining internationally, being a public speaker, because I'm being tugged in that way right now more so than ever. And I'd like to author quite a few books. So I've written a book that I haven't yet put out, but I feel like those would be my top 3. That for me creates impact and it speaks to my true core nature. So the music, public speaking, and authorship. Yeah.
Music, public speaking, authorship. All right, cool stuff.
And singing lessons for you, Doug, and singing lessons for you. That would be the 4th.
Singing lessons for me. That would be in the manual, like Doug Map. You're gonna get singing lessons. That'd be awesome. I'm cool with that. All right. So, hey, Demi, thank you for coming on. It's been lovely having you. We definitely appreciate it. If anytime you need any of us to come on and do your pod, don't forget you can reach us anytime. Where can people find you?
So you can find me on Instagram at Demi Dabady. Twitter, the handle is exactly the same. No, Twitter is at Demi Dabady Music. Facebook, it's the same. It's everywhere on Spotify, Apple, iTunes. So just Demi Dabady and everything will come up. But I do want to say thank you so much, Brain Profits. I think you all are incredible. Thank you for putting me at ease, because I actually get extremely nervous in these platforms until I sort of feel a sense of like comfort. So thank you for making it a wonderful experience. Philippe, thank you for having me on. Stacey, you're the bomb. And I need to visit Tennessee. I got Nashville on my radar. And Doug, you're dope. So thank you so much for just putting me at home and making me feel comfortable. Thank you.
I don't know why Stacey was the bomb and Doug was dope. And I just got thanks for having me on. But
I mean,
you're amazing and you're next level. And I know the behind the scenes. I've been following you for some while, including your health and what it is that you do. So I think that the to be continued conversation would happen on Hustlers and Hermits. That's it.
I'm there whenever you want. I'm there.
Yeah. Well, cool. Well, hey, as you guys noticed at the end of the show, we thank you guys for listening. Don't forget to share with your friends, tell them about the Brain Profits, and don't forget to like and subscribe. All right, until next time, the Brain Profits.
See you, everybody.
Go put your favorite music on.
Yeah.